Hey guys, welcome back to Let's Talk Turkey. I'm going to see if anyone's going to jump on. I'll give it a minute or so and then I'm just going to jump right in. Let's Talk Turkey. That just kind of means let's shoot the breeze. No. I'm going to show you guys how to make a homemade peach pie tonight and a homemade pecan pie. I keep saying pumpkin. Pecan pie, and I've never made it before, so it's kind of a new adventure for me too. So, I'll go over my list of ingredients really quick for the peach pie. I have 3 small cans of peaches that were in syrup. You can use a 32 ounce. Hi, Lisa. You can use a 32 ounce can of peaches. Usually I would make use my own peaches that I've canned myself, but I haven't done it for a couple of years, so I need to get back to the orchard and get some more peaches so that I can make my own peaches for pies in the winter. Okay, so that's 3 small cans of 15 ounce cans of peaches that I got at the store today. But you can use a 32 ounce can. You can use fresh peaches, but peaches are really not in season here. They're hard, so I just did canned peaches instead. Like I said, I wish they were my own homemade canned peaches, which I've done before. I just haven't done it for a couple of years, so I need to get back to that. Okay, so we have our peaches, and then actually I was going to show you guys, I have my dough that, or pie crust that I made yesterday. I made 4 of them. I don't know if you can see like the big chunks of butter in my dough. So I have my homemade pie crust. Then we're going to have sugar, cinnamon, allspice, vanilla, and then I'm just going to jump right in and show you guys how to make a homemade peach pie. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is roll out your pie crust, unless you're using the store-bought. And that's all right, I've used that before too. So you're gonna wanna flour your board or your whatever surface you're using. Kind of heavily flour it. Last time my pie crust stuck, so we don't want that. Okay, so kind of heavily flour it, and you're gonna roll it out. Oh, I forgot my rolling pin. Usually I forget something. Okay, so these I made up yesterday, and then I made a double batch of the pie crust recipe that I posted 2 days ago. Thank you, love. That I posted 2 days ago. I made a double batch. Then I wrapped. Hi, Mom. Finally, you get to join the live. I'm showing my pie crust that I made up yesterday. I wrapped it in some plastic wrap, and I put them in the refrigerator to use today. I let them come to room temp for about a half an hour. They're still really cold because you don't want your butter to melt. So I'm gonna kind of flour the top of this pie crust, and I'm gonna roll it out. This is for the bottom of our peach pie. One thing I forgot to tell everyone when I did the pie crust live, I should have actually cut my pie crust in half and rolled it out. It's easier if you roll it out in smaller batches. Like I said, the last time I used this pie crust recipe, I did it for a large sheet pan. So what I did was, when I made my pie crust yesterday, I divided it into 4s. I doubled the batch. Hi! And then I just divided it into 4. I wrapped it in plastic wrap, and I've kept it in the refrigerator to use for today. I don't know if you guys can see. It's got so much butter in it. It's so good. Okay, so I'm going to lightly flour the top and start rolling out the bottom to the peach pie, and then we'll go over the filling. It's kind of cold because I did store it in the refrigerator, so maybe I should have let it come to room temp maybe longer than 30 minutes, but you guys get to see me struggle with pie crust. No, like I said, pie crust is kind of my nemesis. I don't know. I don't know why, I'm just not very good at it. Okay, so just kind of roll it out, you know, kind of thin. You don't want like a super thick crust on your pies. They're kind of hard to cut into. You want it to still be light and flaky. Okay, it's kind of coming together here. I heavily floured my board this time because the last time it stuck and I didn't want to do that. And I am wearing an apron because I always make a big mess when I'm rolling out cookies or pie crust or anything like that. Okay, this is looking pretty good actually. Okay. I think this is big enough for my pie dish. Let's see. Yep, perfect. Okay, so then same thing that I did when I did my live for the pie crust and the pumpkin pies. You're gonna wanna roll it. Ooh, it's got a lot of flour. I don't like a lot of flour. Okay, I'm gonna kind of dust it off as I go because you don't really want too much flour. I just didn't want it to stick this time. Okay, and then you're gonna roll it onto your rolling pin. I'm just kind of brushing off the flour. I heavily floured my board so that it wouldn't stick this time. Actually, it's working better since it's cold too. So maybe I didn't need as much flour. Okay, then you're gonna roll it into your pie dish. Ooh, this one looks really good. Okay. Same thing as last time, and this is my homemade crust. You're just gonna kind of put it in, oh, I got a little cut, that's okay. Like I said before, pie crust is forgiving. I don't know if you guys can see, but it has butter all over inside of it. I don't really know if you can see the big chunks of butter or not with this foam, but okay. So that's gonna be the bottom to the peach pie, and it is going to have a top, so I'm gonna be rolling out more pie crust. Okay. So now for the filling, I'm gonna take my bowl. Like I said, today I bought 3 small cans of canned peaches. These were in syrup. I was kind of hoping for juice, but I couldn't find any at my little Aldi grocery store because I don't really like the corn syrup, but that's okay for today. Usually I use my own canned peaches, but I haven't done it in a couple of years. I need to get back to the orchard with my mom to do that. Okay, so this is 32 ounces of canned peaches drained. I've been draining them in the sink in a colander for about a half an hour. And to this, you're going to add, I'm reading the instructions as we go, you're gonna add everything into here and then we're gonna stir it. So it's going to be 1 cup of sugar. Hopefully you guys can see me, I think so. Okay, so just measure out 1 cup of sugar right into the peaches. And then you're going to use, this says a ½ teaspoon of cinnamon. My family really likes cinnamon, and this is the really good organic Saigon cinnamon from Costco. So I'm gonna use a full teaspoon. Like I said, I kind of doctor up recipes, so I like to our own taste. And my grandma loves cinnamon too, so I'm gonna just go ahead and put a full teaspoon of cinnamon instead of a half in with the peaches. And then it calls for nutmeg, and my daughter has a nutmeg allergy, so I'm going to use some allspice. And it calls for a 1/4 teaspoon, so I'll just do a 1/4 teaspoon of allspice. Okay. Then it calls for 1 tablespoon of vanilla. I don't know if I'm going off screen a lot. Okay, so 1 tablespoon of vanilla. So this is going to be a really, really good flavored peach pie. 1 tablespoon. And as we all kind of know, those who bake, vanilla is really expensive right now. Hi, Stacy. But totally worth it. I've actually been buying this at our little grocery store. It's 2 ounces for $3.99 at Aldi. So I stock up every time I go there. I buy a bottle of vanilla, so I'm stocked up. It's like, I want to say close to $30 or $40 at Costco for the big bottle right now. So it was 1 tablespoon vanilla, and then I'm going to give this a stir. And then after I get all this mixed together, can you guys see? Hopefully you guys can see. Then I'm going to add a ½ cup of flour to absorb the juice of the peaches as it's baking in the oven. And this is going to bake off at 350 degrees, probably for about 50 to 55 minutes. Typically pies usually take an hour. I have a Fast and Furious oven. I did have to turn the heat down so you guys can kind of see it's incorporated. The cinnamon, the sugar with the peaches. I did have to turn my oven down to 300 degrees for the last pies that I made, the pumpkins. It was burning my crust and overcooks everything. So I adjusted it to 300 degrees and let it cook for, it was either 30 to 40 minutes, and the pies were perfect. The crust was perfect. I didn't even have to cover them. Okay, so now that I incorporated the sugar, cinnamon, allspice, and vanilla with the peaches, I'm making a mess. Hang on one second. I'm going to add a half a cup of flour, and this will thicken up. Oh, I dropped my towel, sorry. This will thicken up the juice from the peaches while it's cooking. I'm just gonna add a little bit at a time. Half a cup seemed like a lot, but because they're canned peaches instead of fresh, they do have a lot of juice even though I drained them. And you don't want your pie to completely, you know, bubble out. So I'm gonna add the whole thing like the recipe calls for. Does anyone have any questions? Hi, Stacy, thank you guys for watching. Mom, are you still on? My mom said she was on and then I lost her. So I'm just slowly incorporating a half a cup of flour. You don't want to have like big clumps, so just slowly incorporate it into the peaches. Oh, this smells really good. I'm actually going to give this a little bit of a taste because I don't want this to taste floury. Cornstarch is always a really good alternative for thickener. But this recipe called for flour, so I'm just kind of following this recipe. But I want to taste it because I don't want it to taste like flour. Let's see. It doesn't taste like flour at all. It's actually really sweet though. Really sugary. Okay. So just gently toss everything so we don't break up the peaches too much. And then once this is all done, I'm going to pour that into the shell. I'm going to roll out the top for it, put the top on it, cut some holes in the top because you want the steam to escape. Put it on a cookie sheet and, like I said, bake it off at 350 degrees for about 50 minutes. Okay, this is almost done. This just seems like a lot of flour, but it is kind of juicy. I see white. Thank you. I hope it's good. I've never used this peach recipe or peach pie recipe, but it's called Grandma's Peach Pie, so I figured you can't go wrong with that. There's nothing like Grandma's peach pie. You can come out, DJ. You're going to be on camera anyway because of the...
I'm not.
Oh, because of the mirrors. Okay, so now that this is all mixed up, it's peach pie.
Ooh, yum.
I'm going to pour it into our pie crust, and I'll move that back over where you can kind of see what I'm doing. That's my eldest son, DJ. Okay, so I'm pouring it in out. Hopefully you guys can see this. Pouring everything into the crust. Can you guys see? Stacy, can you see it? I should turn the comments off for a minute, but then I usually forget to turn them back on, and I don't know what you guys are saying to me. Okay, so easy peasy to make a homemade peach pie, right? Okay, so now that that is all in there, I'm gonna roll out the top crust and then I'm gonna put them together. And like I said, I'm gonna set this off to the side for just a second. I'm gonna use the flour I already had on my board because I heavily floured it. Okay, and I'm gonna roll out another crust. I am using my homemade pie crust. Stacy said hi, son, DJ. I think he went back in his room. Okay. Okay, if I can get it open. I love making homemade pies. Okay, awesome. I'm glad you guys can see. Okay, so put some flour on top. I don't want to over flour it because, you know, then it makes it taste kind of weird. So, all right, I'm going to roll this one out. Like I said, I do become messy when I make pies and cookies. That's why I'm wearing an apron tonight, because you'll see I wear it. But that's the fun of baking, right? Getting messy. Of course, I get to do all the cleanup in my kitchen. All right, so roll it out into a circle, just the same as we did the top one. This one is a little bit firmer than the other one, I think. And then after this, I'm gonna work on a pecan pie, and that one is super easy. I didn't know that actually making a homemade pecan pie was so simple. I asked my cousin because she's made one before, and she said she just uses the recipe that's right on the back of the Caro syrup. So that's what I'm gonna use, and it's really simple. So that one won't take any time at all. And then when these are all finished baking off, I will post pictures in the comments like I did a couple of days ago. Okay, this looks pretty good. I have another pie tin, so, okay, perfect. So you can use it as a guide. And brush off any excess flour, because you don't really want your pie crust to taste like flour. You know, after you've been, or after you bake it, or when you bake it. Stacy, are you making any homemade pies for Thanksgiving? Okay, so now that's ready to go on top. This is our filling inside of our peach pie. Oh, it looks super good. My grandma loves peach pie, that's why I'm making her a homemade peach pie. Still brushing off flour. Okay. Then we're going to unroll it off of the rolling pin onto the top of the pie. And hopefully I get it right. Sometimes it's not perfect, but you can't really scooch it that much once you're done. So, okay. That actually turned out great. Okay. Okay. So now actually I'm going to cut off some excess of the crust. Let me get a knife really quick, sorry. I did forget a knife. Okay. So I'm gonna just cut off some excess so that when I fold it under, it's not, you don't want that much pie crust folded under, because you're gonna be pinching the two together, so it's already gonna make kind of a thick crust. When it's just one crust pie, then it's not really thick, it's kind of perfect, but my grandma loves a top to her peach pie, so this is, she loves Schwann's peach pie actually, but because I was like, well, I know how to make a homemade peach pie, I figured I would just make her one homemade. I did take her one of those homemade pumpkins the other day, and she loved it. Okay, so all I'm doing right now is just trimming off the excess. Can you see it, Stacy? Can you actually see the pie? Trimming off the excess so that I can pinch the two pie crusts together. This is super easy. Making homemade crust, homemade pies. All right. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, because what I actually like to do is I like to fold it under. And that kind of makes a seal. So I'm gonna fold both crusts together. I'm folding it under the pie plate. I hope you can see it. I know you're working, but you're gonna have Thanksgiving tomorrow or something with your mom, right? Or is your mom doing all the cooking and baking this year? My family's really good to help out. They always usually help out. Okay, you can see everything. That's awesome. Thank you for letting me know. Okay. Oh, hi! She's watching me make my pie. My mom said she was watching, but I only see one viewer. I don't know what happened to everybody. So all I'm doing is just going all the way around the pie, and I'm folding the crust under, and then I'm gonna flute it. And then, like I said earlier, what you wanna do is cut some holes in the center of your pie to let the steam escape. Or the pie, the filling will actually start bubbling out all over in the oven. You want the steam to escape from it. So I'm gonna put like 4 little slits through the pie crust, if I can get it all the way through. You do the same thing with an apple too, an apple pie. So 4 cuts and then a little center, like a little circle out of the center. And that will allow the steam to escape while it's baking. Okay, now I'm just gonna flute my edge. And that pinches the dough together also, or the pie crust together, the two. And then just go all the way around the pie. And this pie is done, ready to be baked off at 350 for about 50 minutes. I may have to turn my oven down because of what happened the other day. My oven is really hot. It's electric and it burns or cooks, bakes really hot. It always has, so I nicknamed it Fast and Furious. You're going to want to bake this on a cookie sheet, just the same as really most pies you're going to want to bake on a cookie sheet unless you want to clean a mess. Oh, how nice! That would be so nice if you could get out of town for a getaway. That would be so nice. Where are you thinking about going? No one else is watching. Okay. And like I said the other day when I made the pumpkin pies, really you can do any kind of edging that you want. Even if you want to just use a fork and put the two together, you can. You can totally flute it, you know, with a fork or make a fork pattern design. Okay, so that's what the pie looks like all finished. I'm gonna put it on a cookie sheet. Oh, I can't wait. Cookie sheet and bake it at 350 for 50 to 55 minutes until the crust is light golden brown. The peaches are already cooked, so I'm gonna probably do less time on mine. Now, if these were peaches fresh off the tree, I'd let it go for a good 50, 55 minutes. But because peaches are not really in season and they're kind of hard right now, I would have had to have bought, you know, peaches a few days ago. Actually, probably about a week ago to let them ripen. But I figured canned peaches, I've made my own canned peaches before and it's delicious in pie, so we're going with this. Okay, so on to the next pie. It's going to be a homemade pecan, and I've never made this before, so I'm actually really excited. Let me put flour in the middle. Maybe a little bit more flour to roll out my other dough, my other crust. Gotta flour your board. Thank you! My dream was to open a bakery, Stacy. That really was my dream. A bakery is where I could just wake up bright and early every morning, 4 in the morning, whatever. Go to my bakery, bake baked goods for people because I love making stuff for people. So that really is what my dream was, but now it's something different. I'm gonna open a daycare so I don't have to leave my house to go to work. So lightly flour the top of your pie crust, or you can use a store-bought. They have the kind that are frozen. They have the kind that are refrigerated. You can roll them out or just buy them already made in the pie tins. But I chose to make my own pie crust now that I'm, you know, getting better at it, and it is really, it's good. It's worth it. I did take one of those pumpkin pies to my grandma the other night, and we did have one here. I didn't actually eat the crust part. I ate just the filling. I had had some left over after the 2 pies, so I put it in some ramekins and just baked it off crustless. Oh my gosh, it was so good. The filling was awesome. And I know the crust was awesome too because everyone told me. Okay, so now you're gonna wanna roll this one out into a circle also. Oh, it's kind of sticking a little bit. And this is gonna be the bottom of the pecan pie. And this recipe is just, hi Lois, my cousin's watching. This is just going to be the pecan pie recipe that's on the back of the Caro syrup bottle. My cousin had made, sorry I have hair in my mouth. she had made a pecan pie before, so I asked her what her recipe was, and she said she just uses this one. It's simple, it's easy, it really is easy. I'm gonna show you in just a minute. And she said it's really good. She just told me to add extra vanilla because it calls for a teaspoon. So, hi! So what I think I'm gonna do is actually add a tablespoon of vanilla to give it a little bit more richness and vanilla flavor. Okay. So let me finish rolling this out. Lois, I already did a peach pie. I can show it to you. With my homemade pie crust, it was canned peaches on the inside, and then I added cinnamon and allspice and sugar, vanilla and flour to thicken it, and I put it in my 2 pie crusts, and it's going to bake for 50 to 55 minutes at 350. Okay, so this crust is actually for the bottom of the pecan pie, and that's perfect. So I'm going to roll it onto my rolling pin, and I kind of dust off the flour. I don't really like, I'm not a big crust fan anyway. I just make it for everyone else. I just like the filling of everything. Some people like crust, some people don't. My grandma loves crust, so that's why I like making it homemade for her. So handle it as little as possible. I had these in the refrigerator since yesterday. I made them yesterday and wrapped them and kept them in the refrigerator to keep all that butter nice and cold. And then I just let it come to room temperature. I want to say for about 30 minutes before I started this live. Okay, so then just press it down into the bottom of the pan, our pie dish. So that is the bottom of our pecan pie. Thank you. I'm going to move it off to the side just for a minute so we can make the filling for the pecan pie. And you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, so like I said, this recipe is really easy on the back of the Karo syrup bottle. It just calls for 1 cup of Karo syrup. Okay. It's really thick, so it kind of takes a minute to pour it all the way out. Okay. Okay, so that was actually exactly a cup. So, oh, like I said, it's really thick. I don't know if you guys can see that it's really thick, so it takes a minute to come out. Okay, so that's a cup. And I need the bottle for the recipe. And then you just mix the first 5 ingredients together, which is the Karo syrup. Let me get a rubber spatula. Put it in the bowl. So 1 cup Karo syrup, which I think is corn syrup, right? I've never made a pecan pie. not a lot of recipes call for it. So I think, yeah, it's corn syrup. It's corn syrup, salt, vanilla extract, water, and some kind of alcohol in there. Okay, so try and get as much of it out of, it's really thick, so get as much of it out of the cup as you can. I looked up, when I was looking up pecan pie recipes, I saw different recipes where they cooked like the corn syrup and sugar and stuff like that on the stove, and it kind of became like a bubbly candy. There's different ways of doing this. I didn't know that. Like I said, this is my first time I've ever making one, so it's all new to me. Okay, so the next ingredient is going to be 3 eggs. So you're going to mix 3 eggs into this. My hands are like really messy. 3 3 eggs, and then 1 cup of sugar. I'm wondering if I'm gonna need a whisk. I've never, so let me move this out of the way really quick. And rinse off my hands. I'm still here, sorry guys. Messy hands, I'm a chronic hand washer. Okay, so then 1 cup of sugar. So it's Karo syrup or corn syrup plus a cup of sugar. So this pie is more like candy in the middle with some pecans. And then, so it was 1 cup of corn syrup, 3 eggs, 1 cup sugar. Then it's 2 tablespoons of melted butter that I already melted off. And add that right in. And it calls for 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, but I'm going to use a tablespoon because my cousin said that it needed, you know, more vanilla, so we might as well add a whole tablespoon of vanilla. Like I said, vanilla is kind of pricey right now, but I found a really good deal at our local Aldi store. $3.99 for 2 ounces, and it lasts me a little while. So let me grab a whisk really quick. I didn't realize I was going to need one of those. Okay, and then I'm just going to incorporate all of this together. Do you guys have any questions? No questions? I've never made a pecan pie, so this is my first time. You guys are doing it with me. So you're going to want to incorporate this really well since it is corn syrup, eggs, and sugar, and it's really sticky. And then after that, I'm going to add, after I incorporate all of this, I'm going to stir in 1.5 cups of pecans. Hi, Jennifer. I'm making the pecan pie right now. I took your advice and I added a tablespoon of vanilla to the recipe instead of 1 teaspoon. The peach pie that I just made called for 1 tablespoon also of vanilla, so I just went ahead and added 1 tablespoon to this also. Okay, so this looks pretty good. And I'm following the directions on the back of the Karo syrup bottle. Okay, so let me, it says mix, stir the first 5 ingredients thoroughly. So we just want to make sure, you just want to make sure that the corn syrup, the eggs, and the sugar are all incorporated together. But I can still hear sugar, so it probably doesn't dissolve that well. Okay. It looks pretty good. All right, now what I'm going to do is stir in 1.5 cups of chopped pecans that I chopped myself. Get my spoon. And just stir those in. Simple enough. I've never made one of these, so this is actually really easy. Okay, and then I'm just going to kind of coat, make sure all of these pecans are coated. Just stir it up. Oh, I can't wait to eat this on Thanksgiving. This one we're actually going to wait to eat. And the peach. Okay, so then I think you just pour everything into, pour it into the pie crust. But what I did was, I bought the pecan halves at, like I said, my little store, Aldi. It was only $4.99, which I thought was a really good deal for 2.5 cups of pecans. Bye, Stacy. Have a good night. Thank you for watching. So it was $4.99 for 2.5 cups, and I didn't even need all of them. It just called for 1.5 cups. So what I'm going to do is pour it into the pie shell or the pie crust, and then I'm going to take some whole ones and stick some whole ones on top. And basically that's it. Oh my gosh. So I already did my peach pie. It's ready to be baked off at 350 for 50 to 55 minutes. And the pecan pie also bakes at 350. Let's see. How long did it say? It bakes at 350 for 70 minutes. Wow, 60 to 70. So an hour, maybe an hour and 10. My oven is really hot, so I always have to check on things. So I'm just gonna pour this right into my pie crust. Can you guys see? Oh, this looks really, really, really good. And I'm gonna move, whoops, I'm gonna move the pecans kind of around to make sure they're evenly distributed. Get all of that goodness out of the pan. I do have, or bowl, I do have a rubber spatula. Make sure we get all of that. It's like candy with the caramel syrup and the butter and sugar. The only thing it's missing is heavy cream to make caramel. Okay, so put that in, and then like I said, I'm gonna kind of evenly distribute the pecans. Then I'm gonna take some of my halves and I'm gonna put them on top like in whole pieces. I don't know if everybody does that. I just thought, I just thought it would be kind of pretty to put whole ones on top. Then I'm gonna flute my edge, put it on a baking sheet also. Like I said, it's gonna bake off at 350 for an hour, 60 minutes to 70 minutes. So I'm gonna check on it because my oven is so hot. That's not a whole one, let's see, or half. Just kind of spread some out. You guys don't have to do this step, but I just thought it would be pretty with some halves on top. Okay, so who do I have? I have Jen and I have my cousin Lois. So that's it. I'm gonna flute the edge of my pie. Those are 2 pies that we're going to have on Thanksgiving. Here, I think that looks really pretty. I think you guys can see it. I'm not really sure. So I'm gonna fold my edge over of my pie crust and I'll go all the way around the edge and flute it into a nice, pretty pattern. I might trim off some excess because it kind of was a lot, okay? Do you guys have any questions? Lois, have you made a pecan pie before? Oh, I don't even think she's on anymore. My mom said she was on, but then no one's on, so. I'm just trimming off the excess because you don't want too much pie crust, especially since I always tuck it under. You just want a little bit overlapping, not as much as was overlapping. Okay. And like I said, this was my homemade pie crust from yesterday. I made homemade pie crust. I made 4 of them, so I doubled the recipe that I did on my live on, I think it was, what is today, Tuesday? On Sunday. And I kept them wrapped in the refrigerator for today. I let them come to room temperature for 30 minutes before I started the live. You know, so that they were workable and I could actually roll them out. Okay, so all I'm doing is folding it under. And then I'm gonna go around and flute the edge. Do you guys make your own homemade pies? I know Jennifer does. Hi, Melody. I'll wave. Okay, and that's all there is to it. And this I'm gonna put on a cookie sheet and bake it for an hour to an hour and 10 minutes, depending on if it's set or not. I know that you do have to let this kind of a pie cool for a couple hours and refrigerate it actually to get a good set on it. You don't want to eat this one right away because it's kind of like a candy filling, so. I'm almost done. My dough is kind of getting sticky, so it might be a little bit warm in here. I'm actually kind of warm too. We've been blessed with some beautiful weather during the days. It was actually hot today. Had my windows open. Melody, is Grandma with you? Okay, so that's all there is to that pie. I'm gonna put it on a cookie sheet, bake it in the oven. Oh, fun. Nicole has Friendsgivings with her friends. I always think that's kind of fun. So I'm gonna put this on a cookie sheet and bake it at 350. Both pies get baked at 350 for basically about an hour. That one says 50 to 55 minutes. Less time in my oven because it's Fast and Furious, because I used canned peaches and they're already cooked. So, and then this one says 60 to 70 minutes, so an hour, maybe an hour and 10 minutes. Hi, Kaylin. We'll tell Grandma hi. And those are both of my pies that I'm making for Thanksgiving. So these I'm going to put in the refrigerator once they're all finished cooking or baking. I'm going to put them in the refrigerator, wrap them, you know, nice for Thanksgiving Day, and then I'll just set them out and kind of let them not be completely cold when we eat them. Thank you guys for watching. Bye. Grandma's in a room. Okay, bye guys.